Parliamentarians Forum. The Young Parliamentarians Forum, YPF, condemn in totality the loss of lives and property, breakdown of law and order across the country. The past few days have been the toughest time in our democracy, especially the horrendous loss of lives of unarmed protesters at Lucky Tollgate on Tuesday, the 20th of October 2020. We have observed unpleasant developments across major cities in Nigeria, with scores of young people killed and many injured as a result of the ongoing NSAS peaceful protests led by young people. These extrajudicial killings and violence are highly condemnable and unacceptable. We have observed with dismay the recruitment and deployment of hoodlums and thugs to disrupt and hijack the protests by unpatriotic Nigerians. These have occasioned the death of innocent citizens, the destruction of government and private property, and the disruption of economic activities in some cities around the country. Our sincere sympathy goes to the families of the people who lost their lives in the process, and we pray the Almighty consoles them in this moment of grief. We urge the federal government to ensure adequate and immediate compensation to the victims of police brutality, banditry, and terrorism. As a matter of urgency, the Nigerian Army should identify the armed men in military uniform who attacked innocent protesters at the Lekki Tollgate in Lagos on October 20th, 2020. We also urge the Nigerian Police Force to identify officers who attacked peaceful protesters in cities across the states. Similarly, the sponsors of the human rights violations and violence perpetrated by thugs across the Federation must be made to face the full wrath of the law. We urge the federal government to accede to the demands of the youth and ensure comprehensive reforms in the security sector. As young parliamentarians, we are committed to the yearnings of Nigerian youths, and to this end, we will be taking all necessary actions within our purview to ensure justice and accountability. In view of the foregoing, the Young Parliamentarians Forum of the 9th Assembly wishes to submit as follows. 1. The reconvening of the National Assembly. The National Assembly should, as a matter of urgency, reconvene plenary for an emergency session to discuss alleged killings of peaceful protesters. In addition, an investigative public hearing on the loss of lives and human rights violations resulting from police brutality is highly recommended. On national security, the forum calls for comprehensive police reform. The epicenter of the current protest is the acts of brutality by the police and its proscribed tactical unit, SAS. The federal government must demonstrate a genuine commitment to reforming the police and protection of youth and citizens from police brutality, which has resulted in several avoidable deaths. Immediate inauguration of the Nigerian Police Council and the constitution of the Governing Council of the National Human Rights Commission, which should include youth representation. On education, we commend the effort of the leadership of the National Assembly towards resolving the lingering ASU strike and further call on the federal government to take concrete steps to end the incessant strikes by ASU. This should include sustained dialogues and negotiations to accede to the demands of ASU to enable students to go back to school. The government should consider one-year tuition fees palliative as compensation to the students who have been disadvantaged due to the prolonged strike action. Number 4, national orientation and youth development. We call on the federal government to revamp and put into use all the 11 citizenship and leadership training centers across the country and establish new ones in the states where there is none. We call on the federal government to revamp and establish school acquisition and vocational training centers across the Federation. We call on the federal government to strengthen its social security net to address the peculiar needs of the youth, women, aged, and persons living with disabilities. We call on the federal government to improve access of young persons and women to government and decision-making process. Also, the government should empower youth and women through special social development and mentorship programs. There is the need for enlightenment programs by agencies such as National Orientation Agency to educate and enlighten the general public on the dangers of drug abuse, sexual harassment, and gender-based violence. In conclusion, we note that the current situation begs for dialogue, justice, and reconciliation. We implore the federal government to provide leadership in national reconciliation, peace and justice through inclusive and transparent dialogues with citizens, and ensure individuals and institutions who violate constitutionally guaranteed rights are held to account. We urge the protesters to remain law-abiding citizens and peaceful. The YPF wish to strongly call on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, to address the nation as a matter of urgency. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, for personal businesses, one would naturally expect that these businesses are covered by insurance. And for the victims, we made a call for adequate and immediate compensation to the victims of police brutality, banditry, and terrorism.
Any other questions?
For businesses? No. I think it's one issue at a time. The issue of police brutality and backlash for the riots and all is what we are facing now. This destruction started happening yesterday, and like I said, we expect that these businesses are covered, are insured already. So this is where insurance comes to play. Yes, we are completely part of it. But I believe you know that as events unfold, the need for further solutions and ways out also comes to play. So that's why we as a forum, this is our position, and we have articulated this position to the leadership of National Assembly, which includes both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and it will, inshallah, be considered. On the little scuffle that happened in the House the day before yesterday, it was a misunderstanding, clearly. Our colleague here wanted to make a contribution, and he wanted to come under a matter of privilege. Now, there was a misunderstanding because the Deputy Speaker who was presiding assumed he was coming to give, to present an matter of urgent public importance. That was why he said we are only, by our rules, we are only allowed to take two. But my colleague here wanted to come under matter of privilege to explain what he wanted to profile as a solution. So that it was a misunderstanding, and it's an internal house matter and has nothing to do with the protest, I must say. Thank you.
My name is Ahmed Musa. You just mentioned that you want the house to reconvene as a matter of urgency. Are you going to take up Honorable Shino Pella's intervention that he was not able to put forward to the leadership, to the effect that you urge the leadership to talk every member to go back to their constituency and talk to their youth, and then get leadership for these protesting groups, and then also form a group that will go to the state, regional, and then come together to come to the center. Would you take that as a...
So, can I ask you, is that what was in Shino Pella's motion?
He did not move a motion.
Is that what his recommendation was? Because I'm not aware.
Some of these things.
Oh, nice, good to know. So, like I said, it's a house matter and it's been handled within the house. So, further comments would aggravate the situation. I would like to step that down, please. Thank you. For action as it unfolds. The national dialogue we are calling for at this particular material time is with a view to stemming the tide of this police brutality and the current wave of strikes. That is something for another day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Peace in the chamber. The event 2 days ago. Yeah. Like you just heard, like you just said, I was at the event raised the point of to be able to speak in the house. And two states that when a matter of privileges arises, it should be taken into consideration. And I'm sure everybody heard, I said I wanted to speak, and I have a privilege to speak. And the presiding officer said she was not going to allow me to speak. So I think this is a wider. So I think we should focus on restoring the peace, and especially because we have those that have been peaceful protest. So I think that is what we are concerned about. And as a person, I would prefer to work with my colleagues as a younger, so I believe that we can be able to exchange same ideas and work together.
I'm very sure one of your constituency members is watching you right now. What do you want to tell you that you will be able to tell to others?
What I want to tell my constituents that are watching me now is they should try as much as possible to stop this. As the motto of countries, Nigeria says, it says unity and faith. It says unity and faith and peace and progress. So we've been able to show to the world that we are united. We should have faith that we will have progress as a nation, and we should always remember that a peaceful nation is a nation that will only achieve peace and that progress. So as a to make sure that we to give the government the opportunity to understand that the National Assembly is their right. The National Assembly is the people's representation, but they have the right to use the National Assembly to speak by law to the government, and they are ready to offer them that. These young parliamentarian from this is one thing to make sure that
For the benefit of those that may not know where you come from, can you just mention your name and then where you come from?
Once again, my name is Honorable Shina Kela. I represent the people of the Senate Federal Constituency. I am from Oyo State, and I'm also the voice of the common man at the Federal House of Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your